Hey, what's going on, guys? Victor Chambers here, back with another video. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. On this channel, I bring you up close and behind the scenes on my journey as a notary loan signing agent. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when I upload brand new content. I just received an email today, and I thought I would kind of go through it with you as my audience. And it's speaking specifically about changes for New Jersey notaries that's coming in just under a month here in October. Now, I've referenced this change coming in a previous video probably a couple months ago, but it's getting closer and closer, and so I just kind of wanted to walk through it. And while this doesn't necessarily impact notaries outside of the state of New Jersey, it's just kind of a demonstration of the fact that the industry is evolving, things are changing, and that you have to stay on top of what's happening in your state so that you can, one, be compliant, and then two, just try to stay ahead of the curve with regard to things that are changing in your specific state. So let's just go to this specific website. Now, this is directly from the NNA. I got this in an email, and I just opened up this link, and you can see here it's a bulletin, big changes coming for New Jersey notaries. It's coming October 20th, and I'm just going to kind of read through this with you live here. So permanent remote online notarization, required stamp and journal are just a few changes. So prior to this act, a journal was recommended but not necessarily required. I've maintained a journal from day one. I think it's just a good practice to protect yourself. So even if you're in a state that doesn't require a journal, I highly recommend maintaining a journal for your record keeping and to capture all the notarizations you do, whether it's just general notary work or loan signing agent work. Having a journal is just a great thing to have. Again, I recommend the Integrity Journal. That's a great journal. The Modern Journal of Notarial Acts is another great journal, but my journal of choice right now is the Integrity Journal. Links to those are in the description below. Okay, so you have to maintain a journal. You have to maintain you have to have a stamp, and then this is kind of the statute. Apparently, I won't click into that now. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description to that below. Commission qualifications. Out-of-state applicants may now apply for New Jersey Notary Commission. Previously, non-residents had to live in New York, Pennsylvania, or Delaware. It no longer limits non-residents to those adjoining states, but they must be an employee of a business whose domicile or primary place of business is New Jersey and performs their employment duties remotely from a home office or co-working space. I actually just got a question about this the other day, and I didn't quite understand the way the question was being asked, but now I'm just connecting that question with the language that's written here. So basically, prior to these changes, you had to be in New York, live in New York, Pennsylvania, or Delaware at a minimum, or live in New Jersey, obviously, to be a New Jersey notary. Now they've opened it up a little more, and you can actually live anywhere but work for a company whose domicile or who has a primary place of business in the state of New Jersey, but it says that you can work from a home office or a co-working space pretty much anywhere is the way I'm reading it. You can obtain a notary commission, which is interesting, because if you don't live in New Jersey, how are you going to notarize documents in New Jersey? Or if you're not in New Jersey, how are you going to notarize documents in New Jersey? So that's still a little gray to me. Maybe one of you guys can help explain this a little more. But again, I'm just kind of reading through this live and just kind of giving you my initial reactions to it. Required stamp and journal, rubber stamp, ink seal, and journal again now required. Stamp must include this phrase. Journals must be a permanent bound register with consecutively numbered lines and pages, or in a permanent temper evident electronic format. So this seems to say that electronic journals are okay. There's Notary Act, which I think is the one of the electronic notary journals, probably I think the only one I'm aware of. And then permanent bound. So there was a bit of a a bit of a miscommunication in a video I made before. I think probably back the video I talked about the modern journal, where I mentioned that I had heard that someone took the journal, cut off the end, and spiral bound it to make it a little easier to manage. And I mentioned that that's something that people could do, not to necessarily suggest that people should do that, but to say that someone did it, and you know, you could decide whether you want to. But according to this, permanent bound register, to me, doesn't imply that a spiral journal will pass the test of being permanent bound, because in a spiral journal, in any kind of journal, you can rip pages out, but in a spiral bound journal, it you can kind of tamper with it a little more easily. So permanent bound, essentially meaning that, or the spirit of what this says is that it must be tamper proof, whether it's electronic or a physical journal. It must have this information. This is all standard information. I think date and time of Notarial Act, name and address of each signer. This is all stuff that you should be capturing in your journal regardless. Statement indicating if the identity of the individual is based on personal knowledge. I believe these journals have a checkbox to say if you identified someone based on personal knowledge or not. Method of identification based on sacrificing accident. Date and type, expiration. If any applicable, include the date, type, date of issue, and date of expiration of an identification document, or the name and signature of any identifying witness, and if applicable, the type, date of issuance, and name. Okay. So they're just basically saying they want you to capture as much information about the identification as possible. Issue date, expiration date, the type. I typically capture, for example, if it's a driver's license, I'll say NJ DL, I'll put the driver's license number, and at a minimum, in addition to that, I put the expiration date. Sometimes I'll put the issue date, but mostly I put the expiration date because that's important. You don't want to use expired IDs if you can absolutely avoid it. Then itemized list of all fees charged for the Notarial Act. Typically if you're doing loan signings, you're not necessarily charging. You're getting paid based on a fee. I'm not going to comment on that anymore. Must keep your journal for 10 years after performing the last notarization. Okay. Boom, boom. New Notarial Act, certifying copies of documents and depositions, certifying paper out electronic records, whatever, witnessing or attesting a signature. Okay. Prohibited acts. We will no longer be able to notarize documents in which a notary or notary spouse or civil union partner is a party, or in which either of them has a direct beneficial interest. So I think that's a no-brainer. You shouldn't notarize anything that kind of creates a conflict of interest. But I think they're being more explicit about it here. Direct beneficial interest implies that there's an indirect beneficial interest in some way, shape, or form. So, you can interpret that as you want. Notary fees, may continue charging notary fees. Charge you a fee per Notarial Act, but the maximum amount has yet to be determined by the state treasurer. So that still looks like it's pending. So there looks like there may be some changes to statutes with regard to fees that notaries can charge. Now this is the big one here. Remote notarization is coming to New Jersey and will be in effect permanently. New Jersey will authorize remote notarization of both paper and electronic records. Signers may send notaries the physical documents to the notary, or upload their documents through a RON provider. I don't know if they've provided acceptable or recommended list of RON providers. That's something I'm still researching and kind of figuring out which provider I will use with regard to doing remote online notarizations. Notarize documents for signers in any location, but the notaries themselves must be physically present within the state during the notarization. So you have to be in New Jersey when you're doing the notarization, but the other person can be anywhere. But as a notary, your behind got to be in New Jersey. to do a New Jersey remote online notarization. To become a remote notary in New Jersey, commission must be active. You must notify the state treasurer prior to performing your first notarial act. So that's something that obviously I'll have to do. I don't know what the process will be, in terms of notifying them, if they're going to give you some paper or some sort of additional document to say, hey, you're good to do Ron. I don't know. Looking ahead, educational training will be required of new and renewing notaries. So that's next year. Part of the application, acknowledging you've read the Notary Public Manual. Interesting, because some of y'all ain't read that manual. You need to go read the manual. You've read the manual. I'm taking a course and passing an exam. The course and exam may be taken with the state treasurer or approved education provider. So looks like they're, from the way I'm reading this, they're going to be more strict about having people take courses and exams, in addition to acknowledging that you have read the manual, of course, in addition to applying and taking the oath and all of that stuff. So it looks like there's going to be a bit more work to do with regard to becoming a notary in New Jersey, and that's obviously not a bad thing in my opinion. In New Jersey, specifically, the barrier of entry is kind of low. It's pretty much a application, I think $25 or $30, and then you wait to go take the oath, you get sworn in, and boom, you're a notary in New Jersey. There's no requirement for training. Obviously with the NNA, you can do notary essentials, and you can do the NSA exam and things like that. But the barrier of entry is low, particularly relative to other states. So I'm actually excited about this in the sense that things are changing and things are evolving. I think that's a good thing. I think that creates more opportunity, but it also enforces some sort of standard with regard to getting into this industry and getting into this business. So again, I know this might not necessarily apply to everyone out there, especially if you're not in New Jersey, but I think if you're not in New Jersey and you're looking at this should at least prompt you to kind of go back and look at what's happening in your state and really try to stay on top of how the industry and how laws are being passed that impact notaries, because again, you want to stay on top of these things so that you can remain compliant, but also so that you know how to move and maneuver within your own notary business. So just wanted to make this quick video to kind of give a reaction to these things, and give more details about what's happening and what's changing in New Jersey. Again, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Again, thank you guys for rocking out with me. We're over 6,000 subscribers now. If you haven't subscribed yet, definitely subscribe. I think I provide tons of value on this channel in my own unique way. So subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.